Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we successfully complete our mark entry, right? So now in this video I want to discuss about mark edit option. So if you want to working with this edit option, that will be just like that same here in our mark entry. So if you go to that mark entry page and to the mark entry right now, if you select any year, you can choose that class, you can choose that subject and then terminal, that means the exam type, and after that if you search it, then it's getting all that our data, and from to this position you can also insert that mark. So now in this video I want to create another option for the mark edit. Okay, that means right now there is another portion as a mark edit, and if you want to working with this mark edit, that means from to this position we have to get all that value in particular that area. So I have already inserted some of the mark. If you go there, you can see I have also inserted some of the mark in our student mark. So that is all that our mark. So right now I want to actually get this mark, and after that I want to visible it, and then I will update this mark. So if you want to do that work, first of all I want to create one of the menu. So that is our side menu. Now go to our side menu, that means in our sidebar, right? So into the sidebar, that means that will be in our view, into the admin, there is a body, and that is our sidebar. So into the sidebar I want to create another route. Better I copy it and here I paste it. Okay, I paste it. So that will be another one as a mark edit. I make it as a mark edit. So this type of one of the menu I want to create, and that will be as a route as a mark edit. Okay, I make it as a mark entry edit, this type of one of the route. And now I want to create this route. So if you want to create this route, now go to your web route, and into the web route, that is our mark prefix. Into the mark prefix I want to create this edit portion. Better I copy it and here I paste it. Though that will be one of the get method, and also I name this our route name, I name it as a mark entry edit. I copy this part, and now in our web route here I simply updated our route name. Our route name will be as a mark entry edit, right? And also there is a get method, and then our URL will be as a mark entry and then edit. And then in our mark controller I want to create another method as a mark edit. Okay, I hope it's very much clear to you. So now we have to create this method in our mark controller. Now go to our mark controller, and there is a mark store, and after this I want to create new one that will be as a public, and then function, and then our method will be as a mark edit. Okay, so into the mark edit here, that will be actually the same, that will be just like that same. Better I copy it. I already get all that our years data from our years table. I get all that our student class data from our class table, and the exam type data, right? So now we have to also load it in our edit page. Better I copy everything, and then in our mark edit here I paste it. Okay, so that will be the years data will be same, and student class I get all that data and get all that our exam type. And now I returned one of the edit page, that means in our backend into the mark folder I want to create one of the page as a mark edit. Okay, I name it as a mark edit, and then I pass all that our data. Perfect. Now I want to create this page in our mark folder. Now go to our backend. So that is our mark. You can see into the backend there is a mark folder. Before I have created one of the page as a mark add. Now I want to create one of the new file. Now click as a save as, and I just name it as a mark edit.blade.php. okay, that will be our file. So this file will be just like our mark add. Okay, so right now I want to actually get all the data from our marks add, and here I want to paste it into the mark edit page. Okay, so here I simply paste it. So now we will customize it as per our demand. Okay friends, so that will be the same. Actually there is a student mark entry. So now I want to change it as a edit. Okay, I make it as a edit mark entry. So this type of one of the name I want to use, and everything will be just like that same, because here I also pass all that our years data, I also pass all that our class data, and then there is a exam type, right? So here I have also passed 3 of these data. I get all the data from our years table, class table, and the exam type table, and I pass this data in our mark edit page. So right now everything should be now loaded. So now if you click as a save all, and now if you go to your project, now click as a refresh, and now here you can see friend that there have the new menu is added as a mark edit. So now if we click as a mark edit, yeah, now it's redirected to our edit mark entry. So right now you can see all that our years is now loaded, class is now loaded, and there is a subject, and there is our exam type. So now if you select any year, if you select any class, if you select any subject, and then if you select any exam type, and after that if you click as a search, now it's visible, right? So now I want to do, it should be visible also with our this data. Okay, that means here there is a mark. So I have also inserted some of the mark. So this mark data I want to now visible. So if you want to visible it, only we have to do, we have to work some of the things in our mark edit page into the mark edit page. Rest of everything will be just like that same. Here only we have to update our this portion. Okay, because here with this we get all that our data, right? So now I want to do, before I have already created another one for the get all the data, that means the student mark, and then get student, right? So now also we have to create another method, and then we have to get this data. So before here I pass that, I take that variable as a year ID, the class ID, assigned subject, and the exam type, right? And also I get this data only that year ID and the class ID. So now I want to get this data with also the assigned subject ID, and also there is a exam type ID. Okay, I show you, like format will be just like that same. Here after this I take another one. Okay, after this I take another one that will be as a assigned subject ID, and this will be as a same assigned subject ID. And after that I want to take another one for the exam type ID. So that will be exam type ID, and exam type ID will be as exam type ID. Okay, so I added both of these in particular that area, and then that is our students ID. So that will be the just like the same, and then there is students, so that is the same value, the student ID, and then student ID number. Okay, so now there is a student's name, students there is a first name, the gender will be visible. Only here I want to visible our value. Okay, that means the name, and after that name I want to add another option for the value. So that will be as a value, and value will be what? So here we have to add this value with the single quote, and then there's double plus. Okay, double plus, and then I get all the data with this v, and v our field name for this, our field name as a mark, right? So this is the marks, all the data I want to take, so that will be as a marks. Okay, marks, perfect. So friend, that's all we have to do. Okay, so now with this automatically now it's getting this value data, and that means our marks value data, and it should be visible. Okay, so now I want to get this data by this year ID, class ID, assigned subject ID, and the exam type. So for the reasons here, there is our URL type. So I want to create another route from our edit page, and I just name it as a student get. I make it as a student edit. Okay, edit get student. This type of one of the route I want to create. I copy it. So now go to our web route, and after this I copy it, and then here I paste it. Okay, I paste it. So that will be our route as a student edit and get student. I copy it, and now go there. That will be our route, and I name it as a student get, or there is a mark, right? So mark entry edit, whatever actually you choose. Right now I make it as a mark get student edit. So this type of one of the route I want to create, and that will be as a mark edit and then get student. Okay, so this type of one of the route I want to, that was the method I want to create. So that will be our URL, that will be our route, and that will be our method. So our method I have to create in our mark controller. Now go to our mark controller, into the mark controller. After this I simply create this method as a public, and then function, and then our method name. So that will be our method. Okay, so that will be our method. Okay, so that will be our method. So this method here we have to also pass, because I have to pass all the data with the return response JSON. So for the reasons here I want to make it as a request and then the dollar request. Okay, that means that will be our dollar request. So now first of all we have to pass all that our requested data for the edit, that is our year, class, subject and the exam. So everything we have to pass it. So now I take one of the variable as a year. Okay, I name it as a year ID. I name it as a year ID, and year ID will be our requested. That means that will be as a request, our requested field name, for the year ID. If you go to our edit page, and here I name it as a year ID, right? So that will be as a year ID. And then I want to take another one for the class ID. The concept will be just like same before. We have already discussed about that things with you. That is our request, and with this request that will be as a class ID. And then the another one as a assign subject ID, and assign subject ID will be as a request. It requested, then that will be as a assign subject ID. Okay, that means the request assign subject ID. And then another one actually assign subject ID, and then exam type ID. So another will be as the exam type ID. That means the request and request exam type ID, right? So that will be as a request exam type ID. So friend, first of all here we have to add all that our requested field data and take that things with all that variable. So now I want to get all the data. So for the reasons I take one of the variable as a get student. Okay, get student, this type of one of the variable I want to take, and then I put that condition. So right now I want to get all the data from our which table. I want to get all the data from our student marks table, right? So for the student marks table I have also created one of the model, and our model name as a I have already loaded. You can see that is student marks, right? So now with this model I want to get all the data with some of the condition. So right now here there is a get student variable, and now with our student marks, that is student marks model, I want to also add some of the condition. I want to put some of the where condition, and into the where area that will be as a year ID. Okay, year ID will be our this requested year ID. That means that is actually our requested year ID. I copy it, that will be the requested year ID. And also there another one as a where our this class ID will be our requested class ID. Okay, that means requested this class ID. I take the things with this variable, that means that will be this one. And same we have to apply for the assign. So that will be where our assign subject ID will be, okay, will be our assign subject ID. Perfect. And then another one as a where the same our exam. Okay, exam, that means this one actually exam, that is our where exam type ID, and this exam type ID will be our requested type ID. Requested type ID means our this type ID. So now I simply add it. Okay, so here I simply add it. So I think friend at that point you already understand. So this year ID, this class ID, and then the assign subject ID, that is all that our database field. If you go to our database table, into the database table, that is actually the table. You can see that is our year ID, the class ID, the assign subject ID, and the exam type ID, and that is all that our database field. And this one actually all that our requested field. Requested field means that is all that our this field. Okay, that means that is our requested field from the year, the class, subject, and the exam. Okay, so now I think it's very much clear to you. And after that I want to return this response data. So that means after that I want to get this data, get all the data, take the things with this variable, and then the return response. Okay, response and return response JSON. I want to use that as a JSON, return response JSON, and here I want to pass our this data, and I just simply pass it on here. Okay, I simply pass it. So friend, here also there is another things. Here there is another field as a student ID. So with this I have already created that our primary key as a user, that is our foreign key, right? So now I want to create another relationship. Actually I want to create another relationship with our user table. Because of all, here you can see with this student I display that name, that gender. So here also we have to create this with. That means right now if you go to our this model, I want to check it. Maybe I create this relationship method. I think you already know that is student marks, right? So that is a student marks. Here you can see I didn't create it. So right now I want to create it. I think you already know what exactly the things you have to do. I better name it as a public function, and then I name that method as a student. Okay, student, because of all in our edit page I have already used that as a student, because in our add page I have actually add this relationship. Right now I want to create this relationship with our user table. So now with this student we'll create that relationship, and after that it will display that user table name, the father name, and the gender name, right? So now for the reasons here, that will be, I just name it the same name. So our method will be the same. And here I want to create as a return, and then this return this I add that belongs to. Okay, belongs to with what? Belongs to with our user table and user table class. So that will be a user table class, and into the user table class, that means in our student marks table, and this student ID will be matched with our user table, this user table ID, right? So that will be our student underscore ID. So that will be the student underscore ID will be matched with our user table ID, right? So that is the relationship I want to create, and I just name it with this student method. So now I want to pass this data with student. So after this, okay, after this I make it as with. So with, and then there is actually the, I think the procedure actually the same. You can see now I pass it. Okay, perfect. So after that, that is all that our condition. So I pass that with, and I pass that things all data in our return response JSON. So now we are able to actually display all that our student ID name, there is ID name, father name, gender, everything. Okay. So now if everything okay, now it should be get this data. Now if you click as a save all, okay, I click as a save all. Now go our edit page. So that is our mark edit. So now I want to select one of the years. So I have also inserted some of the data into the class and the health and to the first terminal. If you click as a search, yes, you can see friend, before I have already entry some of the mark for a specific this all that is student. So right now it's perfectly getting all that our marks, right? So right now that is actually getting all the data, and better there is submit. Better I want to make it as update, because from to this position, if you want to update this mark for a specific this user, that means the student, then you can actually update it, that part from here. Okay. So for the reasons here, I want to make these changes. That will be as a update, not the submit. That is our edit page our value. I want to update and make it as update. Okay, that will be as update. Perfect. Now click as a save all and refresh it, and I want to check it again. Class 1, and then the subject health, and then subject, that is first terminal. Yeah, everything is great. That is our update button. So now friend, I want to update. Okay, so how can I update it? In our next video, I want to continue this process. In our next video, I will show you that things with a live example. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.